Good to go? All right, good evening, everyone. I would like to call the regular meeting of the Milton Equestrian Committee for Wednesday, October 16th, 2024 to order. The time now is 6:37 p.m. As I call roll this evening, please confirm your attendance. Nan Buckner is in the parking lot. Teresa Jarmus is not here. Mac Plummer.
Here.
Shannon Regan-Quidley is not here. Tony Rich is here. Carson Seville.
Here.
Julie Shannon.
Here.
All right, so for the record, Teresa Jarmus and Shannon Regan-Quidley are absent tonight, and we do have a quorum. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. How are you, Nan?
I'm so sorry, buddy.
It's all right.
Where am I today?
You're right here.
Right here.
So for the record, Nan Buckner's here. We
And
have
I
a
have never
quorum.
been late before.
No problem at all. You missed the pledge. Otherwise, you're in good shape.
Thank you.
So, our first order of business is to approve our meeting agenda. If everyone has had a chance to review the agenda, if I could please get a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, I've got a first from Mr. Plummer, second from Ms. Shannon. All in favor of the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, the agenda is approved. Our next order of business is approval of past meeting minutes. I believe you'll find the minutes from the September meeting are in front of you. If you haven't had a chance, please take a couple seconds to take a look at the minutes. And once I could get a motion to approve the minutes, that would be great.
Motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
I got a motion to approve from Carson, second from Nan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, the minutes from last month are approved. Emily, do we have any public comment tonight?
We do not.
All right, well, that's good news. So we will keep on clicking along. Next item on our agenda is our staff update. Item A is Birmingham Park Cleanup Day discussion. Jen Young,
That's me.
glad you're here.
All right. So as the time has gone on and we have folks adopting the trails and out there doing a really great job, a few projects have come up from those adopted trail adopters, I guess. One of which is on the Green Trail, which runs along the Little River. Is that Little River? Yeah, at the back of the park. They would like our assistance with widening that trail and lining it. So that could be a really great project for that day. And I have a few more things on the list that
Did you say lining it or lighting it?
Lighting.
lining,
Oh, okay, you didn't say
like lining
lighting
the
it.
path to try to keep
Got
the
it.
brush
Understood.
at bay. There's a little bit of underbrush that, sure, if we spray it or take it out, it's just going to creep back in. So we could line it, we could put mulch down, something that's just going to keep the path there and visible for people. That group has also done a really great job. They cut down bamboo in the back of the trail, which we know is super invasive, and they built retention walls to keep horses away from the edge near the river. It was starting to wear over time. And so just to not have massive erosion, which is cool, super cool. I love that they took that project on. But we could do a heavier duty project if you're committed to doing it with me and getting the community involved. And that is creating some steps. So it'll be labor intensive. We'll basically carve out a spot that has eroded over time coming off an old bullpen. And we'll put, railroad ties and
So they'd be horse-friendly steps?
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So that way, well, honestly, the horses will go around it. It's more for the people because we can create like a horse path next to it. It's really just to redirect people away from the path they're doing now. So we'll close that off. It's pretty steep in that spot. And what the horses are doing is creating switchbacks. And I want to take those natural switchbacks, which are great, and turn them into real spots. But it's pretty slick in rain times because it's just a mudslide.
Well, and then it gets covered with leaves and it makes it more slick.
That's right. You nailed it. So there's a couple spots that the groups have identified. And I said, this is a great project for our days because I think oftentimes we show up and we're like, okay, what are we doing? What do we want to tackle out here? And so these are ones that have been identified if you're up to it. Today, I want to pick the date with you guys and make sure it works for everybody. So I can be there, be present, and then also get that group there to help since it was their plan and their idea.
And you're thinking this would be done on the normal Birmingham Park cleanup day in the
That's right.
spring?
That's right.
Okay, so we're talking 6-ish months out.
That's right. It's not imminent. I typically plan with these groups 3 months in advance because they do quarterly inspections. So when she did her last inspection, she took photos. She, asked, what can we do? I went to the city engineers. I went to Sarah Leaders. She said, this is probably your best bet. It's going to be most affordable and last the longest and something that any one of us could do with a group. So you're up for it.
Is it going to deteriorate though over the winter with the weather, the rains and the potential snow though? I mean, would it be better to get a handle on it now?
We're talking about doing it in the spring,
Okay.
so right?
Yeah.
So-
Okay. I
yeah,
misunderstood.
So not this winter, but next
Okay.
winter, I guess that would be I don't know.
Like April or May, something like that.
We usually
So-
do it in April. I think.
We typically do this project in March, end of February, early March is when you guys do the Birmingham Day.
When was it
Yeah,
this
because
past
it's
year? I don't
before Meet the
remember.
It's before Meet the Neighbors.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's usually crisp and cool.
What the
And
date
It ended up, we were supposed to, I don't remember the exact date, but it was supposed to be March.
Yeah.
And then we had to push it because of weather.
Yeah.
And I want to say we ended up doing it on Cinco de Mayo. I don't know why I feel like I remember saying that in this meeting, but it was after Meet the Neighbors. I remember that. It might have been the weekend right after.
It was April 20th.
It was April 20th.
Yes.
Yeah. So would you want to do it sooner than that, Jen?
I believe March 8th is the date that I have.
Okay. That's like around the second week of March.
Yeah, it's the second Saturday in March.
Okay. I know nothing about spring breaks and all that stuff. Normally, those are the things that come up with people for our committee to commit to a date like that. I don't know. I'm still looking. Mac, you got spring break kids. You probably have. You're like me. You have no idea when spring break is next
I had
year.
to ask my wife.
I can,
Yeah.
actually, I have a picture of,
I can Google it.
saved it this time. Let me see.
I feel like sometimes that March date hits the Kings Ridge spring break, but theirs isn't until the first week of April.
Fulton County is April.
Kings Ridge is first week of April.
Kings Ridge is, the 31st of March through the 4th of April.
Yeah, and we're 7th through the 11th for Fulton.
Of April.
Mhm.
So, does anyone have a reason why at this point March 8th wouldn't work? It's okay
I'm
by
clear
me.
on
Well,
that.
I'm clear.
Clear on that day.
if you guys are good, why don't we go ahead and just agree on that date? We'll put it on the books. And let's just plan towards it. And then
Love it.
I assume you'll have a plan on materials and whatever's needed. And I assume, is this handwork to build these steps and stuff, or it's not a machine to get in there?
The goal was to do handwork and then with the assistance of you guys pulling the ties out there. It's right off Old Bullpen,
Yeah.
so we can take trucks down Old Bullpen still.
Great.
Especially mine.
Right.
Some of you guys have very expensive trucks, so
That
we
big
can
tank- that
definitely
big
take
city
mine.
Tank of yours will get right on in there, won't it? We'll figure that out. Okay.
We'll try not to get Carson stuck this year. But as usual, it'll be the same drill. We'll have trees down, and I always save them for you guys because it's always helpful when you're out there.
And when you're ready, Julie and Mac are kind of our equestrian facilities subcommittee.
Yeah,
So sync with them and just let us know what you need in
Perfect.
advance. If there's planning or whatever, we'll just be prepared to help you out.
Cool.
Jump in.
Yeah, when we get closer to the date, I'll kind of put some plans out in front of you. I think last year we were kind of figuring things out on the fly, and I'd like to be more intentional for you guys, better use of your time, and also get more projects done out there
I think
that are helpful for the
more we can
community.
plan those things, the better.
That's right.
So I think that'd be great.
And then also in Birmingham Park, as it pertains to you guys, we're going to have a night hike and campfire on November 8th. It'll be a Friday night. I'm setting up a campfire in the meadow that's down by the old barn. And we've planned s'mores. We'll do a whole lesson on bats for the community, and we'll have a night hike on the trail. So
Oh,
hopefully you
fun
get
time.
to see
Yeah, that sounds
a
great.
barn owl, and
November
you'll see
8th?
tons of bats.
November the
November.
8th, is that like a weekend?
It's a Friday night.
Friday night?
Yeah, so it'll be 6:45 to 9. Parking's super limited, so every bit of communication I put out to the public is when
I
it's
would
full, it's
imagine-
full.
You should get a nice crowd for that because it'll be a great time of year to get out there.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it's literally the week after daylight savings, so dark will hit earlier for us. So we're hoping to have some younger ones out there getting excited.
What was the time on that again?
6:45 to 9.
6:45 to 9.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
We had it scheduled last year, but it had to get canceled due to weather. So I'll always try to do one in the spring and do one in the fall with the time changes.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks for including us in that. Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, no problem.
Good deal. So
All
well,
right.
let us know how we can support you.
Yeah,
And
sounds
anything
great.
else you need. And I know our committee, we took ownership of one of the trails, right?
Yeah,
Yellow.
the yellow trail.
The yellow trail. So
Mhm.
I don't know, we really hadn't had much conversation about, doing a walkthrough. I mean, as far as general guidelines go, is the idea that we go through there every couple of months and walk it? I think you said something about quarterly, but I don't know.
Yeah, so the recommendation is quarterly. I have some groups that are pretty tried and true to that. And Summer is committed as I clean trash off a trail. I make sure it looks nice. I report anything to Jen that looks out of place. Summer is committed as there's a problem area and they're tracking it over time with photos for us so that we can see where water might be flowing across the land to repair those areas. Especially one of my groups in Providence and one of my groups, well, the group that adopted the green trail and the group that adopted the red trail in Birmingham are very committed and they've been super helpful. So, yeah, you can be as committed as you want to be. What we ask is 4 times a year, you go out there and you look at your trail and you let us know anything that needs to be fixed, or you fix it yourself. That's great too.
Yeah, I was gonna say if there's
Yeah.
trimming or whatever, just go ahead and fix it while we're
Yeah,
there.
that's
Okay.
right.
All right. Mac and Julie, can y'all if y'all plan a day to go out there and walk yellow or whatever, I'm happy to come out there and jump in with you and just check it out.
I've gone out there a few times.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah.
If you ever, want to coordinate.
We have a
whatever.
very well-traveled trail.
Yeah.
And because it's a well-traveled trail, all the people take care of it. So I just go out there and like lay branches on
Is
the
that why
side.
strategically we picked that one? Or did we just get lucky?
Hey,
It's the one, we picked that one because it's the entrance to right by the horse parking.
Okay, well, good.
So.
Well, that's
yeah,
great.
yeah, it's a good trail. It is well traveled, and the cool part about that trail is it has probably the most amount of features for anybody who walks. The goal in the future would be to have some equestrian features in there that would be useful for equestrians. Educational signage would be great for this committee to take charge and go, hey, on this trail, we want to have. People love that each of the trails are named after horses. It'd be nice if that horse was there so you could see what it looked like. Because people ask me and I'm like, look, I'll give you my best
Okay.
guess.
That wouldn't be hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
cool.
So
You
there's
mean like
lots.
a picture inside of like a
Yeah, maybe
glass
something
box or
about it.
Something about it, yeah.
How would this
Cool.
horse be utilized? Like what, in modern day times? I mean, you'd find this horse here. This is as big as it gets. That's exciting stuff. People like to learn.
Yeah, because there's all those signs out there with the snakes and the plants and.
Scouts. So we've done 12 scout projects just this year alone in over 7 parks. Anywhere from benches, picnic tables, trail restoration, educational signage. We had a whole overhaul of our Mayfield downtown park because we're revitalizing some of these ponds to become fishing ponds, and they're fishable. So one of my scouts built a fishing pole rack so that I can put fishing poles out there for kids to use after school. I mean, we have like 10 or 12 high schoolers that regularly fish at that pond after school, Milton high schoolers. So knowing that there's 2 fishing clubs at Cambridge and Milton that are game fishing clubs, meaning these kids are getting scholarships and they're moving on. I'm starting with the younger kids and we're doing fishing 101 to teach them, get them excited about it. And then that way they're ready when they get to high school. So
Pretty cool.
yeah, it's really neat. So all the scout projects you see, when I totaled it last year and reported, it was like a cost savings of upwards of $10,000 for the city of
Great.
the work that they've done. So it's a big deal.
Hey, is that, just while we're on the Birmingham Park thing, that footbridge that we've talked about for years about trying to get fixed, down at right off the parking
Yeah.
area on the right down there.
Yeah.
Is that still something that needs to be addressed? Or,
Yes.
I mean, I know at one point the number wasn't a small one to repair that or replace it. We were trying to make it equestrian friendly. Is that something that's still on your radar?
Yeah. And I would say, as part of our grant, like we've applied for a grant last year, we were in the running. We were 1 away from making the cut, which means we're viable enough to go for it next time. That would have been part of that project.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it needs to be engineered properly if the city's going to do it.
Yeah.
So
It'd just be interesting to
that's
Be interested to get a proposal and just say, hey, we've kind of got the plans drawn up for it. Here's what it's going to cost.
right.
And that way, if and when budget season comes back, because I mean, I have every now and then I'll have counsel, like Jan Jacobus appointed me, and he'll ask me, he'll say, hey, we're getting ready to talk about budgets. What do you guys need for the upcoming year for equestrian? And it's like, okay. And then in the past, that's how we've gotten the funding to do some of the improvements that we've been thrilled to see. But, it'd be nice to know what that bridge, and I thought we had a number years ago, but I don't remember
Yeah.
what it was.
That's a good point, because I think when we had talked to Sarah about it, those were like pre-COVID numbers. So yeah, if we reassessed it today, we'd see a more accurate number.
Yeah. And if we wanted equestrian friendly, I mean, it's not just a footbridge. It's something that's got some,
That's right.
some heft.
Which
to
is
it.
what I would assume you'd want, right?
That would be nice.
Right.
It's gotta have sides.
Yeah, you gotta have
to it.
sides and it's gotta
Can't just
hold the
be a-
horse. But anyway,
Yeah.
all right.
Well, I'm glad you brought that back up to the top.
It
So
might be easier just to buy an aluminum bridge and
Cool.
put it there.
Could be like a pre-engineered, you just
Yeah.
set it in
It's like
place.
a ravine.
Yeah, it's a big ravine. You need something to go across that ravine.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe a pre-engineered thing. I don't
Yeah.
know. But anyway, and as we get into the right time of year to start talking about budgets, it would be great to come up with a short list of improvements. If you guys see things that y'all want to collaborate with us on, let's do that.
yeah, I think the feedback that I get most often, foot traffic, they want the trails widened.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the trails are really narrow. And so the common complaint about Birmingham is I'm walking in giant piles of horse poop. There's no way around it because the trails are so
A lot of
narrow.
hikers complain about that,
Yeah.
and it's hard to deal with because it's all natural. We're not gonna have somebody go behind us and pick it up.
Right, right. And so I feel like that comment faded away of like, hey, can you pick some of that up?
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, can we widen some of the trails so that we can at least
And
get
some of
around
those
it?
got widened, several years ago, because I remember taking the fire department's little mule or
Yeah.
Kawasaki back there, and they wanted to make sure that if someone ever got hurt back there, that they could get
They
a
could get
rescue
back there,
vehicle
yeah.
down in there. And I know some of the trails got widened. They took
Yeah.
a machine in there and did it.
Some of them are wide, some of them are not.
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but some of them were steep, and you couldn't get a machine in there.
So that's some of the problem. Like if we were to ever re-engineer it, we could get more trails out of it and we could better design them for sure. Right.
Mhm.
But that all costs a lot of money. So
I know.
in the interim, identifying what the wider trails are for those that would like to walk on a wider trail is perfectly easily acceptable, right?
Yeah.
Like here's a trail that you know will be very wide, and here are trails that are steep, and identifying those on a map. Tom and I have been working with our GIS department to create an interactive map. So when you're standing out there, you can see the elevation of the trails, similar to all trails, not as intuitive as all trails. But it'll tell you exactly where you are, your pinpoint, which means should you need help, that's the spot. You can get the GPS locator of the exact spot you're standing.
Oh.
And then it'll also tell you like how far you've traveled, just like all trails. Like I want to do a 1 mile, you can see what that looks like, or I want to do 2 miles. So we can
that'd be
put some
nice.
of that information in there. And then also we plan on carving out a maintenance trail so that we can get back there.
Mm-hmm.
And then
idea.
also that is always useful for fire.
Okay,
I think that's needed
Yeah.
for sure.
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
good deal. Well, thank
Is,
you.
is there anything on the train? And I apologize because I have horses that don't like nature. So I've never been, I've never been there. I've been in the parking lot, but is there any kind of identifying factor that would tell, like whether it's a dotted line trail, this is good to canter on, or this is a walk only part, or this is a nice long trotting trail? I mean, that would be something that I think we could do.
That's a
for-
cool feature for equestrians.
For horse people,
Yeah.
because especially for people that show up and they go, oh, well, that loop looks kind of long. I don't know, but like, can I canter on that trail at all? I mean, those would be those would be nice identify. Well, I know, but like, if somebody's out there with a young horse or, it's their first time out there, they might not know what to expect. How many creek crossings are on this trail?
Yeah.
And
you can see that on the map that's out there now. You can see all
Okay.
the stream crossings. But that's a really great point because you'll see some long stretches and they're this wide. Hence, my green trail is the most flat stretch you're going to have, but it's so narrow and it needs to be pushed back, which is why I want your help, because I think that would be a great spot to just let go.
Yeah,
It's
'cause
like a big meadow.
you're not gonna want to, canter or gallop out there on its
Yeah.
switchback. You would want to, straight away to do that. I mean,
That's
it
right.
might be kind of fun if we could have the scouts do like, speed limit signs, like walk only.
Yeah.
Trotting, walk, cantering.
I mean, if
whatever.
you ever want a tour, you know who to call. I'll
I know,
take
I
you.
need to get out there. I feel terrible.
I'll take you on a tour anytime.
Yes, I know now.
We're good.
March
I think those are all valid. I think they're great little equestrian features that make equestrians feel more welcome, which is what we're going for. And especially, I see a lot of the same faces. It'd be nice to attract new people who we don't want intimidated, or lots of people like to use the meadow, but is the meadow safe? I see a lot of people out there with their horses. So I assume that means they feel confident and comfortable,
Mhm.
but they also could be people who've ridden it for 20 years and they know every hole.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess that's where I rely on you guys to tell me, and I can certainly make those things happen.
Fine.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks,
Yep.
Jen.
We always appreciate your updates.
Yeah, no problem. All right.
And are
See
we
you
going to
guys.
help you work on the Junior Ranger book? Wasn't that the last time you were?
Yeah. So that's a long game.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a long game, but as I have things that I need your guys' input, which will probably be a lot up front and then less towards the end, which will be good because that means you've provided the content. I'll be here.
Let us know.
Perfect.
All right.
Great
Thanks,
to
guys.
see you.
One more note on staff update.
Please.
You all should have received an invitation to our volunteer appreciation dinner. It is here on Thursday, November 7th at 6:30.
Okay.
Please RSVP to rsvp@miltonga.gov with a number in your party.
November 7th at
6:30. And you are welcome to bring a +1.
Thank you for the update on that and the
Welcome.
reminder. So I assume that means no one is RSVP.
Oh, no, we have definitely, Shannon has RSVP'd. Shannon has,
Good.
she's got you.
Started us out. All right. We're good.
Mhm.
Glad to hear that. Okay. Is there anything else on staff update?
Not for me.
Okay, good. All right, well, with that in mind, the next item on our agenda are our subcommittee reports. And the first is equestrian facilities. Julie and Mac, do you guys have anything?
No, we basically discussed it in Birmingham Park cleanup day discussion.
I was gonna say, I think we got a pretty good
Say,
discussion.
Yeah.
think you guys are
Yeah.
covered.
Yeah, that was great. No, I really enjoyed that. I'm always glad. Nice to see Jen come. All right, well, let's move on to PR marketing and community relations. Teresa doesn't feel well tonight, so
And,
I'll kick it to you.
Yeah, I was not at Crabapple Fest. I could not make it this year, so I don't really have any kind of debriefing or anything to add to that. I think you guys were there. I know Julie did, the tear down, and I know Shannon did.
Well,
the-
actually, Tony did the tear down.
I'll give you guys a little debrief, because Shannon and Teresa frankly spent the most amount of time, and you were there early, right? And helped with the setup, which I really
And
appreciate.
Susan Kimball came too, right?
Susan got sick. She was, so I had
How was the
the
location, Tony? That was the only thing Shannon was worried about.
Yeah, and Emily and I chatted about that a little bit. I don't know. I know initially we were supposed to have a mini there, so perhaps that's why we got assigned the location. I don't know. But, the mini didn't show up, and I think they were trying to find a place off to the side so we could have a grassy area, I guess. But
Where were you?
we were on the side street away. We literally, as I told somebody, I said, if we were in a restaurant, we had the worst seat in the house. We were across from the bathroom.
Oh,
Or an airplane.
Yeah. So, the only people really that came to our table were people that were going to the bathroom and went, oh, the equestrian committee's right here.
Oh,
Let's
what's
stop by
that?
there.
yeah.
So I made the decision at 1:30. I texted Julie and just said, unless you just have a real hankering to come hang out down here, I'm just going to end
Call it a
early
day.
and pull plugs. So at 1:30, I packed up my car and left. It was not a great event for us, to no one in particular's fault. It was just a bad location for us as a table. There was a lot of traffic out on the main road, but we were down the side street and I could see it from a distance, but no one really came to our table. So I think, that is something, that's a lesson learned, going forward. And I actually think, and I've gotten input from a few folks, I think we should open it for discussion about whether or not we want to do Crabapple Fest in the future, if that's the best investment of our time and if we potentially would be better suited, doing some other sort of event. So with that in mind, I'd love to get some input on that.
Well, I remember my experience last year. I think I mentioned that I was underwhelmed by our presence. We didn't get a lot of questions, really. I know Julie and I sat there, and most of it was people like, "Oh, what do you got for free?" And
Yeah.
they took our handouts.
Which is okay.
And that's fine. That's fine. I was looking more to talk about horses and answer questions about horses, or
Yeah.
where do people want to ride, give them some information about that, or talk about MEC and what we do. We didn't really get an opportunity. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay if we want to direct our energy elsewhere, that we could have a little bit better community exposure to that. And then it's probably just because that event is just so huge, that there's, vendors there. We're not selling anything. We're not.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm. And that was something that Tony and I talked briefly before the meeting started. I don't know if Crabapple Fest is necessarily the market for you guys. It is truly a market style event where people are coming to shop and spend money and eat, not necessarily interact with the booths that don't have any of those options.
Right.
So I threw it out to Tony. We have a plethora of other events that we host that are shorter events. So it's easier for you guys to come and staff and be a part of, that are much more booth activity driven. I don't know if you remember for Meet the Neighbors, those little like Oriental trading horseshoe things that we had. You guys could easily host a kids craft and people are going to be interacting with your booth a little bit more than at Crabapple Fest, because they're there for an activity versus a shopping. So for instance, this weekend we have Carbon and Crabapple, which I anticipate 1,500 to 2,000 people at Broadwell Pavilion over 3 hours. So it's a smaller area, it's a smaller footprint, it's more traffic. So that is something that if you guys were interested in doing something that's one in the spring, which is Meet the Neighbors, and one in the fall, which could be Carbon and Crabapple or even Christmas and Crabapple. Some of our smaller events that might get you more footprint and people speaking with you. And
What was the overall attendance on Crabapple Fest this year? Do you
I'm
have
not
any
sure.
numbers?
It normally is around 40,000.
It was crowded. I mean, when I walked down the main street, I mean, it was shoulder to shoulder. I mean, there were people, a lot of people when I was there. Unfortunately, like I said, we were probably from here to the office down there off the road, and
Wow,
there was just nobody coming down. So
yeah.
again,
Well, there's no draw, because I felt really bad. I thought, I could bring my photo booth again, with the saddle and the cowboy hats and the boots and people can take pictures. That's always kind of fun. So I felt bad that I didn't do that. At least give you guys the stuff to do that. That's always a draw for people, to pick up a cowboy hat or to, crack a whip, or it's the first thing they do when they come into my store. They grab the whips and want to hit each other. So,
well, why don't
deal
I,
with
well,
that.
first of all, before I make a suggestion, does anybody else have any input or any thoughts you want to share?
About Crabapple
No, I
Fest?
mean, I'll take accountability too of not being able to go. I mean,
Well,
meet the neighbors, y'all planning on both my kids' birthdays.
I don't know.
I don't know how that
I don't know
works.
how we pull that off, but
We did that purposefully.
I guess
yeah, I was
so.
gonna say.
We went,
My
when
wife's
is
like, what are they
Carson's
doing
children's
every day?
birthdays? Let's plan it then. No, kidding.
My initial, I remember we first did Crabapple Fest, it was just a great way to just interact with the community, just talk to people about what we do as a committee, to try to spread the word and get people energized and interested. And I still believe in theory it has potential, but I just think going forward, unless we decide to retool it and do something wildly different, it's just not the right place for us. And that doesn't mean that, in the future we couldn't revisit it and come up with another way to handle it. But I would say the way we've done it in the last few years, we would be better. Our time would be better invested doing something else.
I agree, because I think the demographic isn't the right word. The amount of people that would be interested in equestrian stuff is not going to be a huge amount at Crabapple.
Well, we've tried a couple times to get horses there, and there's always some reason it just doesn't work. And it's usually insurance related, which is fine. All it takes is one citizen to get stomped on by a horse or stepped on, and then the whole thing goes to pot. So unless we can come up with a way in the future to have it really interactive and have people drawn to our booth or whatever, I just think we can come up with something else.
Let's have a parade.
What I would love to do is have you and Teresa as the marketing and PR community relations kind of, sync up with Emily and just look at the calendar of events and see if there's something else that would be a better fit for us. And
I feel like I only did the setup, so I've attended before, but it felt like there's other stuff we could do that'd be more appropriate for what our committee is.
I agree.
well, and Meet the Neighbors has become such a success. I would even be as bold to say I'd love to see a fall time event like that. And I'm not saying that's an easy thing to just lob out there. I'm just saying if there would, we've got a great spring event and we need a good fall event. And if there was something else, either that we could tie into the pumpkin carving but there's just some event in the fall so that at least we could say we've got two great events a year.
What if we got different people that were insured and had a fall event where it's like, you could call it
Fall Fest.
kids riding a horse or something, but you could have a bunch of different vendors, not like an hour or 2 hour long line, but it's like there are 20 different lines where your kid can come out here, ride a horse for free at Birmingham at a.
Well, that's what we did
Park
at
right
Meet the
there.
Neighbors.
I know, but like one big one that just, you don't have to pay anybody. You just go out and there's horses everywhere around here. Everybody always, and then it could be like Juliet and people that say, yeah, we have a place to do this all the time if you want to learn more.
Mm-hmm.
But you could put 200 to 300 kids on a horse in one day. It's just an idea. We don't have to do it. It just popped in my head. Like, you really wanted to get
The
people.
liability issue is always
That's why
the
you do it
big
through
one with
vendors, and they gotta have that
that's
insurance.
always, and
I do
I
love
think-
that idea though, just
I do
in general of, how many people
Pony
live
rides,
here
like-
who've never
At a high level and on
Had
a
a
very
horse.
simplistic,
ridden a horse,
way, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, to get kids and families interacting with horses. I mean, isn't that that's kind of what we all want to do.
What outfit is going to have the horsepower to do that?
Well,
But you get a bunch of, so I'd put one in like the left field, one behind the parking lot, two in the other field where we did last time. I'd be like, park in the parking lot. This is beginner, this is intermediate ones, here's some kids ones.
Because I think sometimes maybe we're we're a little too close to it, and we don't realize that there's a lot of people that don't even know how you would go to try to find to ride a
You
horse.
could do a photo booth. You could do,
We could do a costume contest. We could do,
I think just
All
sticking them
kinds
on
of
the
stuff.
horses, sign waivers. I mean, we
What it reminds me
could
of
get
is
insurance.
it's totally different.
It wouldn't
but
be through the city. The vendors would have the insurance. There'd be no,
yeah, but the city requires that at an event. They
Yeah.
have to have a certificate of
Well,
insurance.
but all the
with-
people that
I do
brought,
it
here's a
every
question
day.
for Emily,
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
people that
It's-
brought horses to meet the neighbors, they had to have insurance, right?
Yeah.
And they had
they
to,
named the
It's
city
easier
on
though
there.
because it's a smaller event. So the reason the Crab Apple Fest gets really tricky is the sheer amount of
Right.
people that
Do
are
y'all
there.
get every one of those vendors to name y'all as AI on their insurance or no? Probably not.
For Crab Apple Fest,
Yeah.
I am not sure. I don't run it. That's
Probably
run with
half of them
Anita,
don't
but
have insurance. I bet selling bars of soap or something. I, mean,
Well, I
I
mean,
see that all the time,
selling
too.
jewelry is probably not, you don't need a whole lot of liability insurance, I don't think. But
It's if somebody,
Yeah.
some lady trips and
I'm sure the
falls
city's
in
got a
their
blanket
booth.
thing for that event or
Mhm.
whatever that covers it. But, yeah, I think in theory, there's an opportunity and there's something that could be done. I would just encourage you guys to brainstorm on that and just,
We can do that.
come up with an idea. I mean, come up with an idea. It'd be another, again, every time I bring up a new idea, a new festival, I see Emily go, like, she's got a look on her face. So, but I think there is an opportunity to do something, and it could be a pumpkin carving out. I mean, it could be something in the fall. So I would just like to task us, start brainstorming on that and see if we can come up with an idea. And that's not something we're going to fix and solve right here.
Well, it sounds like if you're trying to do a fall farm fest, let's say,
Yeah.
the pumpkin carving would be part of that.
Mhm.
It could be part of that
Together, yeah.
versus us joining
Because
the
it's at
pumpkin
Broadwell
carving.
Pavilion, normally, the pumpkin thing?
what did you say?
The pumpkin carving that you do, you
Mhm.
mentioned earlier, that's at Broadwell?
hmm
I mean, is it to say in the future you could have a pumpkin farm thing and it could be done somewhere else?
I don't think we would change the event. It's one of our annual events that we do every year.
Yeah.
So I don't think we would change
You
it.
just add on another event.
Yes, I'd be hesitant to add anything that's another fall festival. As far as a city run event, we already have Crab Apple Fest that runs in October. We have Carving and Crab Apple that runs in October.
Is that normally in the morning? The carving,
No, it's at night. It's 4 to 7.
4 to 7?
hmm
I wonder if we could find the right partner or the right, venue, if you could do a midday thing and do 12 to 3 and then everybody could come from there and go to I don't know.
It's difficult with at least this upcoming year because we had to push it back. So Fulton County's fall break is now a full week in the middle of October,
Yeah.
which hits our event. So we pushed our
It
event.
is?
It is. We
This
pushed
week?
it back a week. Yeah. Next year it's
They're
this
going
week.
to school tomorrow.
No. This next year. So
Oh, okay.
2025.
God, it's a full week.
Yeah, 2025. It's
3 days
proposed that
right
it's a
now.
full week.
I told
So
my
we have to
kids-
push our event back to the 25th, but the 25th coincides with the Greens event. So the Green is running events all day, then it trickles into our event. So it's going to be a Halloween town, if you will, down here in Crab Apple.
Sounds like fall is a busy time here.
It is.
Mhm.
I
Okay,
get
I
that.
have a great idea. Why don't we do something like a fall horse festival where we could set up like a corn maze? We could have petting zoo type things. We have fall activities.
Yep,
Like
that's
that, we
Scottsdale.
do it at the green
Scottsdale Farms
space.
doing right
Farms.
now.
We do that at the green space, just like Meet the Neighbors, that just does it in the fall, but it's gonna take a lot of, who's gonna do a
Who's
maze?
going to plant corn?
Well,
Well-
no, I mean, and I was just using that as an example.
do
We
it,
could just
but-
set a maze with,
Gotta be
by
out. by-
cutting it, by
I
cutting
actually
the grass
think you
or
could,
something.
I actually think it would be interesting, one of the things that people, unless people are involved in the equestrian world actively, we got all these farms around Milton. And most people that live in White Columns, they never go into these farms. They just drive by them. So, I mean, I think we could do something at a farm and really make it unique and get people out to the farm, and so I don't know. I think if we can just agree to brainstorm on it, this is not something we're going to whittle up in an hour.
Well,
So,
I think, we could do something in the fall where like maybe we have, not my friend Denise, but somebody come do carriage driving or do carriage rides or
yeah,
do,
be fun.
do a variety of different. But it's really hard for people to bring horses. I don't know
One of the
how.
best parts about the county fair when I was growing up was going in the livestock building.
Oh,
Right? I mean, you
yeah.
go see the cows and the pigs and the horses or whatever.
Show
I mean, the
goats.
4-H kind of, I mean, that was the fun
I
stuff.
mean, is it just me, or do we feel like we only need a spring event?
I think we need
Like,
to.
why do we need a fall event when we're already doing our cleanup days and other things like that?
I kind of agree.
I don't
And if
think
you
we
are gonna
need
be
two
just-
events.
Make it simple. Just come have a 10 by 10 booth at an event that already exists where I have vendors that already are there. So if you wanted to have another presence, it's just smaller.
Well, we're a committee. This is not my decision, but I do think that we have opportunity to do things that get more exposure.
I would rather go deep on what we're doing already rather than try to add another thing to the list.
We need y'all. So here's my initial request was if our community relations subcommittee could work with staff and just try to come
See
up
where
with
we could
a replacement
in
for crab apple.
somewhere
sauce.
else.
And if there's a natural fit, then that's easy.
Could you add riding horses or opportunity to ride a horse to meet the neighbors?
Well, I think-
Yes, it's
It
already
wouldn't be a
there.
already got
problem.
that.
It wouldn't be
Uh-huh.
hard.
But
It's
in a
just finding
bigger-
horsepower
I
and
just
somebody
think
that's gonna.
Meet the Neighbors can continue to be our main event and
I
just
think it will.
really push that as our main emphasis versus spreading so thin and trying to jump into all these different other events that the
I
city's
tend
doing.
to agree because if you look at the growth that we had, okay, so we started Meet the Neighbors before COVID and then COVID hit. We used to do it in the lawn there at the firehouse. It was tiny. There were a couple vendors. That was that. And then after COVID, when it really took off, when we did it last year, and I don't know exponentially what that growth was, but I would say that this year's event doubled what we did last year. So,
No question.
I think you put your time in that and getting.
well, I
vendors,
think
better
we could put
vendors,
a little
better
bit,
stuff.
we could put more time into that, but I do think too that geography and topography we need a commitment from the city if we're going to do that, because we still had some parking issues and we still had some traffic issues.
Well, this year was an improvement over last year. Next year will
Oh,
be
heck
even
yeah.
better. So I mean,
That's what I mean. I think we
making
should
progress.
focus on our main event and stop trying to spread ourselves through all these other events, because Crabapple Fest is really focused on a totally different thing.
Right.
And
Which we've learned that.
most of these events that we're trying to climb into are focused on totally different things. Horses are going to be a byline. And so I think if we do our Meet the Neighbors event and we really make it about horses, then the people that are interested in horses are going to go to that. Not just happen to stop by and take a bunch of stuff that we have sitting out on the table.
I agree.
Well, I want to, okay, so I want to move on to the next agenda item, but I will tell you, I believe we need more exposure than once a year. And how that's going to transpire, I don't know.
Okay.
But I will challenge our committee to come up with other ways to get people involved that are not currently in the equestrian world. And if the committee doesn't want to, come up with another event, that's fine. But I would challenge us in the future to come up with something other than just once a year. So I'll leave it at that and just give us some things to think about.
Okay.
So, all right. Well, with that in mind, then let's go to farm ownership.
So this will kind of piggyback on what we're talking about a little bit for exposure. So I sent all y'all a text a minute
Got
ago of kind of tough to read, but we've been talking about doing a brochure that we could give to put up here in City Hall, give to staff, give to realtors. Shannon typed this. I'm not taking any credit for this because it's really good.
I thought it was really good.
I love the way she worded this. So there's a picture of a horse on the other side of this that I didn't include, but it would just be a little brochure. I don't think we need a 3-page pamphlet. I mean, if somebody's going to read this,
Is this a
about-
postcard?
pretty much. It's something, I mean, you're going to get about 3 to 5 seconds of attention from anybody looking at this. You're not going to have many people that sit down and read it on the couch.
Yeah, that's
So-
great.
Yeah, I thought it
What
was
she
great.
wrote is great to say, because there is a lot of knowledge on this committee, whether it be building or horse ownership or where to buy feed or find a no-till drill. So, I mean,
Mhm.
I wish I had people to ask when we were doing it.
Right. I agree. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I would have been here all the time and like, hey, help me with this, help me with that. So
Mm-hmm.
will this get people's attention? I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, I said put my phone number in Shannon's if you want to.
I was
on
about
there,
to
but-
say, is there contact info on this?
Well, this is not even off a computer yet. Like,
Okay.
this is very conceptual.
yes.
Okay. I was going to say, I was like, I don't know how to get in
No,
contact
but if
with
you want to put my phone number on there, that's fine.
But
Or emails.
the conversation the other day was that this would be included when people move here.
I would say we put it on these desks. You could give it to the realtors and they could put it in like their closing document folder, the folder that
Mhm.
needs something. You
If
could
they
even have a
would.
realtors be like, hey,
It'd be
These
great
guys
at
are great to talk to.
at, information and city
in
hall
here.
in
But
here.
Mhm.
I don't know how staff would, I guess if they have an initial meeting before they start
Yeah.
their build, here you go, these are a great resource.
Well, I think, we had a call the other day with the community development folks. And I think, weren't they suggesting that whenever someone comes in and applies for a permit for something barn related or farm related, that they get one of these in their packet or something?
Yeah, I mean, they don't really get a packet, but they would, they could, I mean, I'd like to just stick them on the desk right there too.
Which I think is a great idea.
But
That's
yeah,
easy.
they could say, if you've got any questions,
Yeah, call these guys.
call these guys or reach out or go to their meeting.
Yeah, agreed.
So
I like that.
Yep. I think it's simple and I think it's a step in the right direction. So do we need, so what's the next step?
if everybody likes that wording or doesn't want to change it, then, I mean, we talked earlier about, me and Shannon did about just, okay, what are we trying to accomplish here?
Yep.
You know, and now that I read it again, I think we keep what she wrote.
I think it was
Really
fine.
good.
Yeah, I don't see
And-
any edit
I
there.
didn't see any edit at all.
And then we're just gonna be a postcard with horse on the front,
Yep.
that on the back. We'll give it to whoever.
Yep.
Put it wherever we can.
And just,
And,
and if we can just work, Emily, if you can just help us figure out how to get them printed or, whatever.
I mean, I could see
Card stock or whatever you guys
Right.
want to do.
Greg doing a post on it.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean,
think
that
that's a
would
great
be
idea.
probably hit more people than
Yep.
any physical.
That'd be
card.
really
Let
easy to do.
me double check because we just did new branding. So I think we have a new city seal.
Oh, we do.
So I just want to make
But-
sure that I can get that to you. I have all of it.
Okay. Perfect, right?
Yeah.
All right. Is that it?
Yeah, Julie loves the new seal.
Just know
Love it,
your
huh?
emails are going to blow up.
Waste of money.
What, with the
I
new
don't know
seal?
if they will.
No, with the postcard.
You think?
Why? Is that a positive they're going to blow up or
No, I mean, you're going to get a lot of response.
you think?
The
I'd
way
be
that's
interested
worded.
if we do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I hope
But
so,
that's the
but
goal.
I would not put phone numbers. I would put email.
Emails.
Because
Emails.
then you can reply
Yeah, please
and
do
there's
not
a
put my phone
record of
number.
what you wrote.
Totally agree with
yeah,
you.
please do not put my phone number out there.
No, I agree. I think email addresses are fine.
Yep.
So, and I mean, the other thing is you put a link to the city website that shows all the email addresses. If you don't want to list every email address, you know what I mean? You can simplify it even that way. Right?
Can you
You can do
put a
it.
We'll
QR
run
code?
everything by you
Yeah.
anyway.
You know where
I was just thinking QR code would be
Absolutely.
We're not
great.
gonna hand these out, so y'all.
QR code would be a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Something
just
like
do a
that.
It's a
QR.
fine idea. So, okay. What else?
That's about it. I mean,
Good job.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I
Yeah.
like it.
I think there's a lot of really good conversations going on with community development and just trying to get us more involved with some of this stuff, right?
Mhm.
lot going.
A lot of potential there. Okay. All right. Well, if there's nothing else on subcommittee reports, then we will move on in our agenda. Nothing under new business, under unfinished business. We have a brief update on the fireworks discussion. I had a meeting yesterday with our city manager and our fire chief and the police chief and the fire marshal were there, and Emily was there, which was the glue that held it all together. Thank you. But, you know, if you all will recall back in July, we had a lady come into our meeting and she explained that she had some pretty big fireworks that were shot over her barn. She had ashes and embers coming down, and that really caught my attention, not so much for the noise factor, but more from the fire safety factor. You know, last year we spent quite a bit of time working with our fire department, doing this barn fire safety education program. They sent a lot of flyers out to all the farm owners, and the fire department even came up with an evaluation where they would come out and evaluate individual farms. I think yesterday, Emily, did he say they had done about a dozen or so of those around the city?
Correct.
Which isn't a ton, but
More than zero.
more than zero. But after we talked with Ms. Edwards that night, I had a conversation with our mayor, and he set up a meeting with our speaker pro tem, Jan Jones, and she was really interested in this topic. And so she even went as far as to say that she would, consider talking with us at the state level on trying to change our fireworks ordinance.
Excellent.
And it would be related more to the fire safety side, because I think we've done about all we can do on the noise ordinance.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's only so much you can do on noise. But on the fire safety side, if you look at Milton's current rules around fireworks, they follow the state official code. And there is a laundry list of off-limits places that you're not allowed to shoot fireworks. You can't shoot fireworks within 100 yards of a gas station. Well, that makes a lot of sense. But, if fireworks were to catch a hay barn on fire, it would be bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there is some potential discussion to be had at the state level about adding barns and agricultural buildings to the list of off-limits places, or at least to put a buffer in. And so our fire chief actually found the fire code from Wellington, Florida, that has some really interesting language about their equestrian area and areas that are off limits to fireworks. And there's also another example. Is this from Pennsylvania? That they sent? And they've got some really interesting language in their conditional use code about where fireworks aren't allowed. So this is not something I normally mess with, but if you look at what they call the OCGA, which is the official code of Georgia, annotated. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Subsection 20 or section 25 of that actually addresses fireworks. And so we have made a markup to add a section to that right after all the other places where fireworks are not allowed, that within 100 yards of fireworks would not be allowed within 100 yards of an animal housing facility or a fenced area designed to confine livestock owned or managed by another person. And so that's a very simple markup
That is very
to the official code, but that would potentially have a really big impact
It would.
on where you can shoot fireworks next to a horse facility.
My only question about that, and I love it, I love the verbiage, but what happens to barns that are already there, that houses are being built, or vice versa? Is there any grandfathering of any kind?
If that were to pass at the state level, and tell me if I'm speaking correctly on this, if this were to pass at the state level, which would make it a whole lot easier for Milton to enforce that, if you would not be allowed to shoot fireworks within 100 yards of someone's barn or any building that houses livestock.
Or any pen or area, dry lot,
Yeah.
pasture?
Any of that.
Okay. Ooh, my
That's
neighbor's gonna love me.
Yeah, that's,
Same with me.
I understand.
Neighborhoods back up.
Mhm.
So, it is not something that is it's not a layup, but it's something that I think we will potentially have some success with, and we're going to give it a rip.
Good
and
job,
see what
Tony.
happens.
Good
Well,
job.
I'm
Makes
just,
sense too. I mean, look, fireworks, have changed over the years too. I mean, you can buy some pretty powerful
commercial now.
fireworks.
Yeah. I mean, you go to
Yeah.
Kroger and buy fireworks.
Yeah.
That's what they were joking about yesterday.
Let's go.
The police chief was like, man, you go to Kroger and buy these giant rockets
I know.
that are not sparklers and Roman candles like when we were kids.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother category of stuff. And, my big point on the whole thing is, look, there was actually a list of examples of barns that have caught on fire that they believe were fireworks related. And I
Oh
have
my
no
God.
idea that there were that many examples
Here?
in Georgia.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and I can share a lot of that stuff with you guys. But anyway,
Well, I'm hosting a clinic this past Saturday, and all we were doing was shooting off fireworks because it was a de-spooking clinic.
Oh, gosh.
So in my covered arena, we were shooting off all these fireworks, with these horses mounted, and having to learn how to deal with it. Yeah, that'd be me.
That's something community relations
Billy's
could
gonna get a
sponsor.
ticket.
Would
Right.
you sponsor?
Well,
Good
you know what?
job.
And that's a really interesting
Amazing.
thought. Can you shoot fireworks on your own property that houses like no one ever thought
You're
of
sitting
that.
here talking to someone, good thing they weren't there on Saturday.
But that would be an interesting question.
So
Is that
funny.
you can do that on your own.
We were literally shooting fireworks off in the arena with horses and riders mounted.
That is
But how
crazy.
wonderful to desensitize.
And nobody
this
got bucked
group.
off?
Nobody got bucked off.
Good for you. It sounds
A lot
like
of horses did some piaffe, but nobody got bucked off.
I see another
Love it.
equestrian event that we could sponsor.
Oh, yeah.
Why couldn't we? Okay, sorry, I'm community relations, but we could offer that to the horse owners here in Milton.
Spooking?
Well,
A de-spooking clinic.
and I will tell you that, our fire marshal was telling us, he said, 90% of the calls they get are all noise related. I mean, they really don't get a lot of calls about fire safety, about my barn catching on fire. I mean, they don't get a lot around the 4th of
Yeah.
July. They get a lot of noise complaints. But as I said, if we can address the fire safety side, just by default, that's going to
Yeah.
That's
fix
gonna make a
lot of-
difference.
That's going to make a lot of progress on the noise stuff.
Tell the noise people to build a barn.
Yeah.
I was actually more concerned about the woods catching on fire, not my building. My building is
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
I was like, please don't let anything go outside of the arena.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
kidding, right?
I'm surrounded by woods. Like, yeah,
And it's
too
been so
dry.
dry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's an update. I mean, there's a long way to go, a lot of
Yeah.
conversations and.
I like it though. That's
It's, yeah, I mean, it's interesting that so many people have really shown interest in supporting this. You just never can tell. I mean, I think we beat the noise ordinance to death. We've done so many.
It's just unenforceable,
It
really.
is. I mean, and it's hard. And that was one of the big conversations yesterday with the police chief was, can you enforce this? And so they seem to think that there's some potential there. So that's it. We'll give you an update as it
All
progresses.
right.
Oh, that's great.
And I get the
Good
impression
work.
that, it won't be too far off where there will be some conversations at the state level about this. So we'll see where it goes. So anybody have questions about that or thoughts before we move on?
I mean, I just have a little thought, and
Yeah.
when you're talking about the fire safety seminar, and I know we're going to sit down with Emily, Teresa, and I about what community relations can do, but it just kind of triggers me in that, we're trying to tell everybody in Milton about horses and give them more knowledge. What are we offering to the horse community? Maybe we need to do that fire safety seminar every year.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to offer more things
We need to get more people to show
for
up next time.
equestrians. Maybe it's the equestrian people that we need to focus some of our.
Show some love to.
Yeah, because like what you and Shannon have done, that's totally equestrian driven. That's like, here's a
Well,
pamphlet.
What
here's
if
what-
we, so
you
we
know.
did, me and Tony were talking today about the survey for Highway 9 that
Mm-hmm.
they do. And it actually is pretty interesting how you go through and say, I would like this, I would not like this. We've probably got the contact information for all the 200 farms.
Mhm.
You'd say, look, there's 3 questions here. Would you be interested in a deed spooking? Would you even go to an event if we had one? And would you interested in, I don't know,
On the
Surveys
fire
community
safety
rights.
topic.
a quick survey on email, say
Brief surveys are
15
great.
second
tools.
survey.
Yeah, agreed.
It'd be interesting to see how much you got back, and you
Yeah.
might say, well, they're not interested. They're going to do their thing at their farm, and
Mm-hmm.
it'd just be
Mhm.
good to know. But
Yeah, I like that.
I think we need to do that.
maybe come up with some questions, and then I know staff had asked us for the addresses, and they were going to pair them with email addresses. So we probably got contact information, like an email list.
Okay. I'll get with Teresa and see what we can, what kind of questions.
Emily, what else on that?
I think you covered it.
I think Steve was looking for some feedback, so I mean, do you feel like we got some feedback to share with him?
I think so.
Yeah.
Big thumbs up.
Yeah, didn't think about the question of shooting fireworks in your own barn. We got to work on
Well,
that.
I'm assuming that's within 100 yards. So it's 1 yard away.
That's true.
So.
Yeah.
Sounds like a no.
Yeah. Okay.
Julie, who did your de-spooking clinic?
At Dabney.
Okay.
I think that's a good point, Nan, of doing educational things. I think would be
Or you do
an interesting
flags and
avenue
the
for
whole
you guys.
works.
Yeah.
You could say,
He had all these obstacles and flags and barrels and he created a lane where some kids sat there with sticks and aluminum like trash can lids and made
Yeah.
all this noise and the horses had to go through a narrow path with all this noise. It was actually very useful.
Did you see some real interesting transformations with some of the animals? Like that started out scared to death and got better, or?
Yeah, I mean, some, and then some, I mean, the ones I knew were going to be ridiculous were ridiculous. And eventually they just got tired because it was all day long.
Yeah.
And by the time you've sat with a horse next to you and gotten on and gotten back off and done a few things and gotten back on again, they're like, okay, can I just be done now? So they're dumbed
They
down
become
a little bit.
compliant.
Yeah, because of the time involved. But they, a few of the horses that I thought would be really crazy were totally sane.
Nice.
That was
That's awesome.
impressive.
That has to feel good.
That was impressive.
Good for you guys. That sounds like a really cool clinic.
It was a good clinic and I found the majority of the problem horses, they had problem owners. The owners were more afraid than the
Funny I worked
horses
that
were.
way.
huh,
Yeah.
So,
The same on mine. Like when I drive my side by side by some horses with their owners, the owner freaks out when it's just the horse horse comes over to say hi.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, but when the owner freaks out, the horse kind of follows.
Yeah.
suit.
Yeah, the horse is like, whoa, what are we afraid of?
yeah.
That I saw a lot of.
Funny how it works that way. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for that. Well, I guess with that in mind, is there anything else that we need to discuss tonight? If not, I would love a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting, please.
Second.
All right, I have a first and a second by Nan and Mac. All in favor to adjourn, please say aye.
Aye, 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 Captain.
Thanks, everybody.